Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly. Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast. This episode has been a long time in the making to get out to you, and I really want to thank Emily once again for her patience in our ability to get it out to you guys. Emily and her family did a land and sea vacation this past year in 2018, and because of the length of the episode, we decided to break it into two different parts, and there's a lot of really good tips in here from her time at Walt Disney World, so we thought it was really important to get it out to you guys who are thinking about traveling to Walt Disney World and who haven't been down there. And actually, I learned a lot of different things in here too that I didn't know, even after all the times that I've been down there as well. So I hope you'll enjoy this first episode where we talk about Emily and her family's stay at Walt Disney World, and then come back next week for episode number 2, where we will talk all about their follow-on cruise with Disney Cruise Line. So without saying any more, let's jump into today's episode. Sit back and enjoy it. And here we go with Emily's family trip to Walt Disney World in 2018.
Well, hello, everybody. This is your co-host, Christy, and Steve is actually getting ready to get on the Disney Magic right now for a Mediterranean cruise. I believe he's cruising out of Rome, but so he's not here. So you just get me today and our guest, Emily. So welcome to the show, Emily.
Oh, thank you so much, Christy. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a really big fan of the show.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. And thank you for coming on. So you had an awesome cruise. Tell us who went with you first.
So as you might remember, we actually did a land and sea vacation. So for the land portion, it was me and my husband and our 2 kids and his parents.
And then how old were your kids?
So my little boy is 4.5 and my little girl is just over 2.
And were those just the most magical ages ever?
Watching them experience Disney is just amazing. It just, oh my gosh. And we'll talk about Chef Mickey's, but they loved Chef Mickey's. And when you just see their faces, and I mean, I don't think they could smile big enough. It was amazing. Because to them, the magic, I mean, it's actually magic to them. So it's unbelievable. Yes. And I just love it. I just love it.
They are like, those characters are their friends and they are real. And it is so, I love even hearing the excitement in your voice.
I know. And it's funny because I was just thinking about how, the post-Disney depression is so real. And you know what the cure is for that, don't you, Christy?
Booking another vacation.
Oh my God, of course. But and maybe when we're done, I can kind of share a little bit, but we definitely have 2 big trips planned for 2019. I don't know if my husband's too happy about that, but I just couldn't contain myself. The post Disney depression is totally real.
It is, and I'm glad that you succumbed. I was just having this discussion with somebody too, so good for you.
Oh my goodness. But it's just so fun, and I just think to myself that they're only little for so long, and then they're going to grow up and maybe they're going to be too cool for school and they're not going to want to go to Disney anymore. So I feel like now's the time to do Disney while they're little.
My sentiments exactly. So, okay.
Perfect.
What was the reason, I guess, for the trip? Was there a reason?
Yes. So my husband and I both turned 40 this year, and actually it was after my 39th birthday that I turned to my husband and I said, look, we're turning 40 next year. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. We got to do something big. We got to do something big. And we had gone, we're both very, avid cruisers. We've been on Royal Caribbean, Celebrity. We had never been on Disney. And we thought to ourselves, we could potentially go on something, just the 2 of us, but, we would miss our kids too much. So then we thought, well, let's bring them along. But we had taken my 4.5-year-old son on the Quantum of the Seas, I don't know, when he was about 15 months old. And we did that by ourselves. And we thought I said, oh no, never again. So it was just so much work. And I think, and I think when you're used to just cruising alone, to then cruise with a toddler, your expectations, you have to just change your expectations. So I looked at him and I said, well, let's do a Disney cruise. We'll take the kids and we will invite your parents because they also love cruises. And if they come with us, then we'll have built-in babysitters. And that way we can all, we can have some adult time and some kid time. And of course, I didn't really know anything about Disney cruising at that time. And I guess we can talk about the kids club later, but that wasn't even a thought process in my mind at that point. So
somebody else went with you as well, right?
Right. So what happened was, as you can all imagine, we put our deposit down for the cruise. And then we started thinking about, well, if we're going to be in Florida anyway, and we're going to be so close to Orlando, and you have to fly in the day before because, we flew, I guess the cruise dates, so we went, it was March 4th. So it was Sunday, March 4th to Sunday, March 11th. And the weather is so unpredictable. So we knew we had to go in the day before. So then I thought to myself, well, if we're going to go in a day before, we might as well go in 2 days before. And then we could spend a couple days at the parks. So
I call that Disney math.
Yeah, Disney math, because I didn't want to lose money by being there and just missing the opportunity. So
you flew all the way there after all.
Exactly. So we had our 7-night cruise, and then we ended up tacking 3 pre-cruise days. So yes, so we did our land and cruise, our land and sea, but we didn't do Disney's package. We kind of put it together ourselves.
Which is a good way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, let's see. I had been to Disney as a child maybe once or twice, and I didn't grow up in a Disney family per se, so I didn't have really any experience with Disney. I had taken my son to Disney right at the end of my maternity leave, so he was like 3 months old, and we had gone kind of tagging along to some extended family who had decided to go, and we thought, well, maybe we'll just go. So it wasn't it wasn't until I started planning this did I really gain any kind of Disney knowledge, because it is a crazy enterprise. There's so much to know, and so much to learn. It's the amount of information out there and planning tools. I mean, it's infinite.
I almost think that while it's nice, it's almost gotten to be, and I love it, and I'm addicted, everybody knows this, but that it's too much. It's gotten to be too much. Like that there's too much planning that's needed.
Yes. I mean, exactly. And
you can't undo it. So unfortunately it is what it is now, but it's so much.
It really is. And I mean, we tried to stay as flexible as we could, but there was an immense amount of planning, and I devoured every bit of information that I could, but you're right. It can be very overwhelming, and there's an amazing amount of components, and you're going to laugh at me, but I don't think that I'm alone in having a multi-tabbed spreadsheet for every Disney trip.
You are not.
Yeah,
you are definitely not. I think that is. I think almost anybody who listens to a podcast is that sort of planner. So.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, maybe I can try to instill some of our experiences that maybe others can kind of take away and maybe take what they want and maybe learn something. So I'm happy to kind of share my experiences and the good things and the bad things, and hopefully they won't happen again to someone else. But anyway, so it was a very long trip, actually. I was just looking at my notes, and we were actually... It was an 11-day trip. That's a long trip. Yeah.
That is a long trip with kids.
It is. So speaking of a long trip, and speaking to the fact that I did do a fair amount of packing, guess how many pieces of luggage we had, Christy?
Well, there were 4 of you, so let's go with 4 pieces of luggage.
Well, that would be right for perhaps a normal person. However, and I don't know if I overdid it a little bit, but we had 6 pieces of luggage. 6 pieces.
6.
Oh, yes. And
how do you corral 6 pieces of luggage and have 2 toddlers, basically, a preschooler and a toddler?
Oh, it was not easy. We, what I will say is this: we used the Magical Express, and we had a good experience with Magical Express. I know that, you have to be kind of flexible because you never know how long it's going to take. But one thing that I did not know, and I do know now, is that Disney assumes that you will have 1 piece of luggage per person. So I got my envelope with my Disney Express information, and of course I did not open that envelope until the day before we left, and discovered that I only had 4 Magical Express luggage tags. And at that point, I knew I had more than 4 pieces of luggage. And so I was a little bit worried. But the good news is that the Disney Magic actually worked. We used the 4 tags that we had. When we got to the airport, we used a private car service, and they did, have car seats. We got to our home airport in New Jersey, and we told the porter where we were going. He saw, the Magic Express bands and everything, and he said, "Oh, these 2 don't have them." And we were like, "Oh, what are we going to do?" And he said, "Don't worry about it." It was amazing, the curbside porter guy.
Yeah.
And they knew the whole drill. They said, "Don't worry, when you get down there, just go right down to Magical Express, give them the, they print out those little tag receipts. They put them on your boarding passes. Just give them these numbers. They'll scan those and they'll just go and grab them for you." And, I was pretty skeptical because that's a lot of moving parts. But when we arrived back at our hotel that evening after dinner, all 6 pieces of luggage were there.
Wow.
It was a Disney miracle. I was so impressed.
That is amazing that the porter knew.
Oh, yeah.
Not at MCO, not in Orlando International, but that the porter in New Jersey knew. That is impressive.
Well, I suppose that a lot of people with small children, and perhaps they saw us coming with all of our Disney T-shirts on, and maybe they realized where we were going. But we took a midday flight. I didn't want to be at the airport too early, and I wanted to try to coincide the flight with nap time. And when we got to the airport, it was super easy. We went right down to the Magical Express. There were some bathrooms right there. We checked in. We told the cast member what was going on. He said, "Don't worry, we'll grab the piece of luggage for you." I was a little bit worried because we had made a reservation for Hoop-Dee-Doo Revue for dinner that night, and I guess it's at 6:15, and we had landed. We didn't get down to Magical Express until maybe 3:45, so I was a little nervous, and I had talked to my travel agent, and she said, "Well, if you get there a little bit late, you may have to do like an Uber or a Lyft and go directly to Fort Wilderness if you get delayed." But it was about 4, and I figured, we were staying at the Contemporary, and I figured it's only a ferry boat ride, not a very long bus or whatever. So I thought, well, it's 3:45. I think we have enough time. We were a little bit confused about what line to get into when it was time to get onto the bus, but everything went smoothly. We actually were the very last stop for our bus. Yeah. So it was maybe, I want to say it took maybe 45 minutes.
Which isn't bad, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think
because it's like a 25-minute ride by itself. So to only add another 20 minutes, I at least don't think that's horrible.
My in-laws who live in South Florida in the wintertime, they drove up from South Florida. And actually, if you think I'm crazy for having 6 pieces of luggage, I think, as I remember, they had a 7th piece of luggage that they brought up from South Florida when we were there at Christmas time. Now that I'm remembering, yes, there was another piece of luggage. Holy smoke. Wow.
We'll have to talk later about what you have in this luggage.
Yeah, we can definitely talk again at another time about the ultimate supreme super duper your husband's going to kill you packing list.
So, and like some talking points, I guess, for the listeners. Disney does say that you should give yourself an hour and a half from the time your plane lands to the time that you get to your hotel. And it might even be an hour and a half from when you get to the Magical Express check-in to the time you get to your hotel. So somewhere in that range. And then Disney also says that you should give yourself an hour and a half to take the Disney transportation to get somewhere. So
Yes.
even a short trip from the Contemporary to Fort Wilderness could take longer sometimes. I had one time where we made it. We were going from Grand Floridian, I think, to
Oh.
Fort Wilderness. So we
Oh.
took the monorail, to the Magic Kingdom. Then we had like an hour and 20 minutes. I'm like, we are going to have so much time. We're not even going to know what to do with ourselves. And then there was some shift change and boat change and change. And it literally took us the hour and 20 minutes to get to the airport or
Well,
get to Fort Wilderness.
Well, I will tell you that what ended up happening was, well, and first of all, my kids had no idea that Grandma and Poppy were going to
Aw.
be there. So we get off the bus and they saw them, and my son's face lit up and it was like amazing. He like ran to Grandma, ran to Poppy. It was so cool. And you're right. I think now that I'm remembering it, oh, and the cool thing is, before I forget, is that we had done the online check-in and we had our magic
Yes.
bands on. So while I was on the bus, I actually got a text message that the room was ready, and they put the room number on the
Mhm.
magic band, like it just popped up. So I think by the time
On your My Disney experience, though, right?
Oh
That's where.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
you're
Okay.
right. Yes, yes.
Okay.
I had done that maybe a couple days before. So, you know what? I'm now that I'm thinking about it, I think that by the time we got there, I remember looking at my watch. We went up to the room to drop off the carry-on luggage, and it was like 5:20 or 5:30. Now that I'm remembering. And
Mhm.
I was I remember saying like, "Oh, we got to go," because I kept thinking that Hoop Doo review was at 6. So we hightailed it back downstairs. And actually, my in laws got some pixie dust because I think their room got upgraded. They were on the same floor as we were. And I remember I booked them a garden view room, and I think it was that annex building, but they
Yes.
ended up being like directly across from us with a lake view. And I think we were pretty high up. I know it wasn't the executive floor. And so because this was a very, very big trip, we booked a theme park view room at the Contemporary, and it was gorgeous. We didn't actually get the room that we had requested, though. I know that some people have luck, some people don't. I think maybe because we checked in late that day. I don't know. Maybe we got there late.
You did the request through touring plans?
Yes, we did. We did. But I
Okay.
don't know if that even worked. I don't know because I think I had requested a room like closer to Bay Lake Tower, and we ended up on the other side. So we were kind of right over the convention center.
Did you also make a request in online check-in?
I don't remember. I think I called a number. There was I spoke to a very nice woman. I don't remember, but I think I told her the room numbers that I wanted to pick from, but maybe they weren't available. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and so obviously Disney has to work with the people arriving before you and arriving after
Yeah,
you, and so
exactly.
there's a lot involved with that. And it's always just a request. But one thing I would say for people that if you want to make a request, use the touring plans fax room request in. I wouldn't necessarily call, I would use their fax system because they seem to have that worked out. I wouldn't make any specific room requests when you do online check-in. So you
That may have been
can
my
still
problem.
so yeah, do online check-in, but don't make requests for what you want with your room there because then they compete and so then Disney has to determine what to listen to or whatever. So yeah, so just do one or the other.
That's a good tip. So the room itself was beautiful. It was amazing, like walking in and seeing the theme park. That was just amazing. The room itself was beautiful. It was big. The bathroom was gorgeous. The everything about that resort was amazing. But we were really kind of cutting it close for time. We hightailed it back downstairs. We got on a ferry boat, which was a lovely, little boat ride. And then we got over to Fort Wilderness and we got right over to the show. But we were like the last ones in there. We had an amazing table. We were right next to the stage.
Oh, nice.
And I was kind of worried because I'm like, oh, if we get there late, are we going to get a bad table? But then I read something somewhere, I don't remember where I read it, that said that the tables are assigned in the order that you make their reservation. So maybe if you do your reservation like at 6 a.m., 180 days out, maybe you'll get a better table. I don't know if that's true or not, but I will say that we had a really nice table and I did book it at 6 a.m. I went 180 days out, so we'll see. I don't know
I
if that's true or not.
I do understand that they do the tables it's by the reservation. So, I don't know if it has to be 180 days, but I know that it's not when you show up. So that part is good.
Okay, so I specifically booked this the theme park view room because I thought to myself, well, if we're really tired from the parks and we get back to the room, we'll just give the kids a bath, get them in the bed, and we can watch the fireworks from our balcony. That was my thought process because I still wanted to be able to enjoy it, but I knew like with toddlers, you have to be a little flexible. Well, the irony of that, we paid all this money for this, amazing view room, and we did not watch the fireworks in that room once. So that goes to show.
You saw the fireworks.
Yes. So the first night we actually saw the fireworks from the pier from Fort Wilderness. So that was kind of cool. And everybody was just kind of standing around watching the fireworks. So that was really fun. And I will say that, that people should not worry if they have little kids, because I was really worried. Like, is the dinner show going to hold their attention? Am I going to have to take the kid out screaming? And I mean, that still might have been a possibility, but I will tell you that the food was delicious. The kids loved the food, the baked beans, the chicken, the brisket, the pulled, whatever, the barbecue food, cornbread. My kids loved the food. And I mean, I have kids that are going through, I will only eat hot dogs and macaroni and cheese phase. So I was really worried, but they loved the food. The show was great. My kids were just enthralled. So, don't think, I mean, maybe every kid's different, every family's different, but I will say that it really, really held my kids' attention, and they loved that show. Yeah. So we got to bed fairly early that night. And the other reason why we chose the Contemporary is because we decided that we were just going to so we got there on Thursday and the cruise didn't leave till Sunday. So we planned on being in the parks on Friday and Saturday. And we picked the Contemporary because it is so close to Magic Kingdom. We walked there. It was awesome. And so we decided to spend 2 full days in Magic Kingdom because I figured with the toddlers, I wanted to be flexible. I wanted to be able to do a big break in the afternoon to go back to the room. And it worked great. I mean, we missed the 3:00 parade both days, and I was a little bummed, but I figured, there's always another time to go back. You can't do everything. And so at least for this past trip, we really had a very slow, leisurely pace. But because we were there for 2 full days, we still got to do a lot of stuff.
That's great. What did the kids like the best?
My son loved Buzz Lightyear. I think we went on Buzz Lightyear 2 or 3 times. And I think that's the other thing to kind of, at least for me, is, I use touring plans. I did have touring plan. I used the app. I had things in place about what I was going to do in the order that we were going to do them. The timings and the wait times, it wasn't really as accurate as I had hoped, but it also could have been because we don't walk that fast. We have a double stroller. We have, my mother-in-law had broken her foot the week before. Oh, it was horrible. And, so we had a wheelchair. So, we were kind of a slow moving bunch, and it was okay. But he loved Buzz Lightyear. And so, I said to myself, well, if he likes something, he wants to do it again, then let's just do it 3 times in a row if he really wants to do that. And so while on the one hand, I did have, and the other thing that I felt like, because I had like a minute by minute plan, is that I felt like constantly like rushing like one place to another place. So I really had to like just stop and say, you're not rushing, everything's fine, you're gonna get where you get when you get there, and just look around you and just take it in, because it's so easy to fall into we have to do this, we have to do this, we have to do this, and it's almost like, just look around, I mean, you're in the Magic Kingdom, this is great. So we had a great time, and I did play with the FastPass Plus on the app a lot. Like the whole day, I'm just playing with that thing. And so we were able to bypass a lot of lines by just me constantly using the fast passes. I thought that was really helpful. So we did, we did mostly the kid stuff. I mean, but on the other hand, we also, because my in-laws were there, we also had an opportunity to do something like Space Mountain, my husband and I, while Grandma and Poppy took them on the People Mover or on Buzz Lightyear. Oh, and we did Talking Mickey. Weren't you saying that Mickey doesn't talk anymore?
Yeah, so Talking Mickey stopped speaking about him in May, I believe, or early June, May or early June.
That's so sad.
Isn't it?
My son loved Talking Mickey. I think that you asked me what his favorite things were. He loved Buzz Lightyear, but he loved Talking Mickey. I mean, he did the hot dog dance with him. That was really amazing. I'm sorry that went away, but I guess it is what it is, right? So we did some other things. We did the carousel. We watched the Mickey's stage show. I had listened to a lot of different recommendations. We really wanted to have lunch at the Plaza restaurant. I had tried to make a reservation. As I understand, they don't take reservations after 11:30. But then later I found out that the problem was the server had told me that they do not accept reservations for 6 people. They do accept reservations for 2 people and 4 people, but because it's such a small restaurant, she said that they do not take reservations for larger parties.
There is some rule though about the Plaza. They've gone back and forth, but I don't think they take reservations for the entire day. Some of the days walk up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I will say this. I went over there around 11:30 and the wait was already an hour. So I'm thinking that if we eat at the Plaza again, I might stop over there around 11 and see, what the wait time is. But it was fine because we sat at the little tables outside the Plaza restaurant. We took the kids down Main Street. We got them a couple balloons. I saw, I had a really spontaneous experience with some of the suffragettes. And I will tell you, I don't think I had mentioned this, but Christy, I'm an attorney too. And I remember saying something to the suffragettes about the 19th Amendment, the women's right to vote. And I had this, I think it's the 19th Amendment, right? It is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, I think so. And I had a really nice spontaneous interaction with them. It was so fun. I took my picture with them and everything. But we got them a couple balloons.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I've never spoken to them. That's fantastic.
And it's those are the kinds of like little things that, it's good to have a plan and a schedule, because the worst thing in Disney is a group of people standing around saying, what do you want to do next? I hate that feeling. But on the other hand, you have to be flexible, and I think with future trips, I think I'm going to be a lot better at the, not rushing thing. And then, so we had a really nice restaurant at the Plaza. The food was delicious. They had the never ending milkshakes. It was a really, really great lunch. They had like the loaded French fries. They're like French fries with ranch and bacon. And are you gluten free, Christy?
I am. I'm celiac. Yeah.
Oh, celiac. So maybe you can't eat these, but
I've never tried. I'm going to write this down though. I'm going to look into this.
Yeah, maybe. It's like it's kind of like it's like a French fry party. There's like shredded lettuce and ranch and bacon and cheese, and it's really cool. It's really good. And then after we had lunch, we just we walked back to the hotel. I think we took maybe a 2 or 3 hour break. So we did miss the parade. I think when we were walking back in, I think the parade had just kind of broken up. But we did a really cool thing. We went to, what's the name of it, Christy? It's like it's not Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, but there's the
Harmony Barber Shop.
Yes. And I think it's just, when you walk in, it's to the left over by like the City Hall place. Yep. And I just did air quotes, but nobody could see me, so that's silly. But and at first, I think I had read something somewhere that said, don't worry, it says barbershop, but it really is unisex. You can bring your little girls there. Because I had wanted to do Bibbidi Bobbidi, but my daughter is too little, because I think there's an age restriction. I think it's 3 and up.
Yeah, 3 to 12, I believe.
Oh, 3 to 12. Okay. So, but I wanted to do something with her, and she had not had a haircut yet. So we did her first, so we did her first haircut at Magic Kingdom, which was, I think, really special. And they do such a nice job in there. And she got a really great haircut. She wanted to sprinkle, the cast member wanted to put the fairy dust, which is like a glitter, like a hair glitter. And my little boy ran over and said, "No glitter. Mommy hates glitter." So,
That's awesome.
Which was hilarious. And I was like, "Oh yes, thank you. I hate glitter." So anyway, so after that, we went over to Adventureland. Unfortunately, Pirates was closed. I think that was when they were switching out the one of the people inside the ride. But we had a fast pass for Jungle Cruise, so we did that. We had a fast pass for Carpet, so Magic Carpet Ride. And I don't know if this is a spoiler alert or whatever, but those camels spit water.
Yes, they do.
And I literally got shot in the head with that stupid camel, and my son burst out laughing. He thought that was just the funniest thing. I did not, but then I kind of softened up a little bit and laughed. It was a very kind of fun moment, I guess.
We refer to that ride as the spitting camel ride.
Oh, you do? That is extremely accurate.
Yeah.
And then we did Tiki. We did the Tiki Bird, and I loved the Tiki Bird. And I think some people don't like it because they think it's tacky or kind of, but it is such a classic, like, original attraction, and I just got such a kick out of it. It was awesome. So I think when did they start doing the mobile order on the app, Christy?
Recently, and within the past year, but recently.
I had not had an experience with that. I guess when I had gone, I think it was, maybe that was 2014. So there was no mobile order in 2014. But
No.
when we walked over to Adventureland, we are a big Dole Whip family. We love Dole Whips. And the line for the Dole Whip, I'm not kidding, that line could have stretched all the way back through the little marketplace, past Jasmine and Aladdin were over there. It was crazy. And everybody was looking at each other like, I don't think these Dole Whips are going to happen. And I said, wait a second. And I whipped out my phone and I said, we can do a mobile order. And I did a mobile order. The rest of my family kind of found a place kind of in a shady area. And literally, I had everyone's order in 5 minutes. It was insane.
That's awesome.
There was nobody was using the mobile order. And I'm thinking to myself, like, should I tell these people in the line? And my husband's like, no, don't be that person. Just leave those people alone and just do your own thing. So that was actually a really great tip because it saved so much time. And we ended up using mobile order a lot. It was really, really great.
Oh, good. Just a note for people, if somebody has a food allergy at Walt Disney World, you cannot use mobile ordering with a food allergy or restriction. So,
is that true? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but you can at Disneyland. So we're hoping that one day it'll make its way to Disney World.
Christy. Sorry,
I know.
Oh, that's too bad. I feel bad.
We're always waiting for my food.
Always waiting for you. Well, and I will say this, that my son really wanted to do the autograph book because I had shown him some videos on videos on YouTube and stuff about like different rides because I wanted to make sure, like, prepare him for Seven Dwarfs and just make sure, so he wasn't scared. And I guess we saw some video of the character signing the book and he said, what is that? I want to do that. And I actually, instead of getting one of those little signature books, you can get one from Disney. I think I got one from online that was a little bit cheaper through Amazon than it was on the Shop Disney. But I ended up getting, it's the Encyclopedia of Disney Characters or something. Do you know what I'm talking about, Christy?
Yeah.
What is that thing called?
It is just like that. I don't remember what it's called, but that name is descriptive. So I'm thinking people can get to it from that.
Yeah, it's like the Encyclopedia of Disney Characters, something like that. And it's a kid book. It's definitely a kid book. But every page is its own character. every character, it's alphabetical. Every character has their own page. It has a big picture of them and kind of like a one-page description of their story, their background, what they are. And we ended up having the characters just sign the page.
What a good idea.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that, sometimes at night, like, for bedtime, we'll read the encyclopedia, and my son will say, "Oh, I remember meeting, this princess or that princess," and it has their name signed there. So that was pretty cool, and I think we'll bring it, we'll bring it on every trip going forward, and we'll see how many we can get. That was really fun.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah. So, and because I kind of feel like those signature books with the blank pages, you kind of just put it on the shelf and you never really look at it again. We ate dinner that night at Liberty Tree Tavern. And it was delicious. And everybody talks about that dessert. It comes in a giant skillet. What's the name of it? Ooey gooey something, toffee something.
Yes, it is. I don't remember the name, but it is something like that. I unfortunately don't get to eat that, but
oh no,
I know. But the rest of the meal I get to eat, and it's very good. They give me something. It's not what you eat at all, but it is. They give me something. So
anyway, but I guess you make the most of it. But anyway, so that dessert was amazing. And while we were at dinner, I was able to get a fast pass for Enchanted Tales with Belle. I wasn't able, that was a big rookie mistake. I should have absolutely gotten a fast pass for that for our morning tour. The wait was just too long to do standby. And so I had been checking all day, and there was nothing. And then finally I was able to kind of just get single. I don't know if you've ever talked about this on your podcast before, but and maybe you could have a whole show that talks about fast passes. But basically, one thing that I learned was that you can do, instead of looking for a fast pass for 2 people or 4 people, just do them for 1 person at a time. And then just keep refreshing and checking back. And hopefully you can get them all the different ones at overlapping times so that you can all go at the same time. So
yes, because most fast pass windows are for 1 hour. And you can arrive, I don't know if people know this, but you can arrive 5 minutes early or 15 minutes late.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So as long as, and it doesn't even require special permission, it just allows you to do that at those times. So as long as you have within that hour and 20 minutes overlapping fast pass times for the rest of the people in your party, then you can all attend the attraction at the same time.
Oh, yeah, and that's how it works.
But that's a great tip that you were looking for your fast pass that way. That's a great idea.
Yeah, basically just back and forth. And sometimes I would get something for really late in the day, and then I would just keep refreshing. And then an earlier time would then pop up, and then I could grab the earlier time. So let's say you're looking for something and you find one at 9 p.m. Well, just keep checking, and then a 4 o'clock might pop up. So when you would find something for 9, but you really wanted 4, would you book the 9? Yes.
Okay, and then you would modify it.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly how it happened. You are such an expert, Christy. I'm in awe of you.
But thank you.
So then after we had dinner, we did Enchanted Tales with Belle. So now we were over in Fantasyland. So guess where we saw the fireworks from the second night? Oh yes, we watched the fireworks shoot up right behind Belle's castle. So it's the fireworks actually aren't like by Cinderella's castle. They're actually a little bit farther back. So we're actually standing like underneath the fireworks, but we were behind the castle. So it's not ideal. Like we couldn't see the projections, but the fireworks, it was right over our head. It was fantastic. So that was pretty cool. My daughter, she was little, so she did not like the fireworks. My son really liked the fireworks. So
my son though was your son's age when we stayed in a cabin at Fort Wilderness in Copper Creek, whatever, not Fort Wilderness, but Wilderness Lodge in Copper Creek in January, at the end of January. And he did not like the fireworks either. He said they were just kind of loud. And we weren't at the park. We were, across Bay Lake. And
wow, because we were right underneath them. So it was loud. Yeah. So then my son really wanted Buzz Lightyear again. So I got some more fast passes. So he did that again. And we rode the cars around the track in Tomorrowland.
Oh, I hate that ride.
The smell, it was a little intense, but we went right after the fireworks, so there was no wait. We basically walked on, so that was pretty cool. And then we were pretty exhausted at that point. It was a long day, but the kids did great. And we went back to the hotel. We walked back. Actually, no, we took the monorail back. I think we were so exhausted, we just took the monorail back, which was pretty easy. And then we were ready for our second Magic Kingdom day. We did rope drop Friday morning, which was amazing because it was extra morning hours. So we were literally like, my in-laws were not pleased when I told them what time we had to be up. But you know, later on they appreciated, I think, a little bit of the planning, because they realized, wow, like you got to get up early if you want to do Disney. So then Saturday was really crowded at Magic Kingdom. Later I learned that Saturday was an 8 out of 10. I think that's like the touring plan's numbers.
Yeah.
But I don't want to ever see what a 10 out of 10 looks like. It was crowded. I mean, I remember at one point on Saturday, we had fast passes for Peter Pan, and we did not have a fast pass for Small World. And Small World had a 60-minute wait. And
oh my goodness.
Yes. And that whole little corridor area was so packed. There was no space for the strollers over by Rapunzel's bathroom area. I mean, it was so crowded. So I don't ever want to see what a 10 out of 10 looks like. Which, in fact, when we go back in 2019, we're going the last week of January, just because I don't want big crowds. Like, I just can't do it. So Saturday morning, we woke up very early. I was able to get a Be Our Guest 8 a.m. breakfast. But I will say this, it was extremely expensive for what it was. Mm-hmm. It was the food was good. It was definitely good food. I'm not, I can't deny that. But I think it was like close to $25 or $30 a person for breakfast. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, 25.
That's crazy town. Like, that's really expensive.
I don't think the 25 or 24.95 or whatever it is includes drinks. So by the time you add a drink in, yeah, it's a really good value if you are on the Disney dining plan. And for everybody else, you should not order breakfast for every person in your party.
Yeah, I think that I think looking back at it, we probably should have shared. They brought this giant basket of pastries. Mm-hmm. I had a Ziploc bag. Luckily, I was that person. I was like, I hope nobody can see me as I'm stuffing the pastries in the Ziploc bag. But I'm like, for what we paid for this, I'm not ashamed to say that I took those pastries with us.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. So
okay.
I'm glad you brought your bag.
Yeah, so I actually had it just in case there was like crazy, clothes malfunctions. Yeah, with toddlers. So really the purpose of getting that reservation was so that we could try to walk on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train before the park opened. And I had a strategy. We did have, believe it or not, 4 9:30 fast passes. We had 4 fast passes for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at 9:30 a.m. But yes, I don't know how I got them. But actually, I do know how I got them, because I was like right there when the fast pass window opened. It was the first thing I got. But setting that aside, okay. And again, this is like part of the it's hard to enjoy the beautiful restaurant and look around when you're kind of like looking around at everybody and saying, eat fast so we can go over to Seven Dwarfs, So it wasn't like the most relaxing meal, because we were just trying to eat as fast as we could so that we could get over there. And we ended up riding it twice before the park opened.
That's awesome. Amazing. And did your son like it?
Oh my God, he loved it. Now, apparently my son is a daredevil. He loved Haunted Mansion. He loved Seven Dwarfs. This kid is fearless. I know that it's not for every 4-year-old. I know there's plenty of 4-year-olds who want nothing to do with Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, but my son really loved it. So that was really, really fantastic. We did, mostly just Fantasyland stuff. We did Dumbo. We went over to the circus area. We didn't do Barnstormer. We didn't have a fast pass for it, and it was like a 40-minute wait, and we just didn't think that was worth it. We met Ariel. We went the princesses. We did Peter Pan. We did Haunted Mansion. So we ended up having lunch at Columbia Harbor House, which I think, in my opinion, is probably one of the best counter service meals. It's not like your typical hamburger, hot dog fare. It's a little bit more sophisticated. So they have like fried fish, and I can't remember what everyone got, but everyone was very happy with the food. But this is another area where mobile ordering came in so handy because remember, I said the park was like an 8 out of 10, so it was packed, and we went over to Columbia Harbor House at like 12:30, and the line to order was just out the door. The cast member was like, just kind of trying to herd people. And I said, I asked the cast member, like, what's the line for? And he said, oh, you have to go over there to wait in line to order. And I said, well, can we use mobile ordering? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay. So we kind of just squeezed in there. We went up to the second floor. It was very quiet up there. It was not crowded. Everyone kind of just sat down and relaxed, and we just ordered our food from the phone. And then I went downstairs with my husband. We picked up all the food at the window. There was nobody there at the window.
Nice.
The people are out the line. And I kept thinking, I'm like, I got to tell them. And my husband's looking at me, shaking his head. Don't say anything. It's not your place. Just take the food. We're going to go up. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we had a really nice lunch. It was actually very relaxing. And then after that, we walked back to the hotel and took a fairly long break. I think we left the park at 1:30, and we didn't come back until almost 4:30. So, and everyone fell asleep. Like, everyone was tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then in the afternoon, we just kind of hung out. We rode the train around the entire park. We had dinner at Crystal Palace, which was amazing. We really liked that. And it was a character meal, so the kids really liked that. And then the third night, we still didn't get to see the fireworks show in front of the castle. We watched it from like that area in Liberty Square where the ferry boat like entrance is right there. So I was laughing to myself. So we didn't get to see the show face on, and we never saw the fireworks from our room. So so that's how that went.
Well, future goals, right?
It's always for another trip. So I thought that overall our land portion was pretty successful, but we were exhausted. We were ready for our cruise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody should do the theme parks after the cruise.
No, I was just thinking that in my head because you're too tired.
You're just too tired. I would say we spent like the first 2 days on the cruise ship just doing nothing. I mean, I have a lot of notes and I have a lot of detail. I remember a lot about Magic Kingdom. But then when I was preparing to talk to you, I was looking at my notes about the cruise, and I have very little about the cruise. And I think it's because we were just so tired that we just really just relaxed on the cruise.
Which is good.
Yeah. And I think anybody who's considering a land and sea should definitely do the theme parks first.
Well, that's going to wrap up this episode and the land portion of Emily's family's land and sea vacation down to Walt Disney World aboard Disney Cruise Line. Come back next week and we will have the sea portion and all about her and her family's cruise. If you would like to get a hold of Christy and I between now and our next episode, you can always reach Steve at DCL Podcast on Facebook or Twitter. Of course, you can always find Christy over at packyourpixiedust.com, PackYourPixieDust on Twitter, and Pack Your Pixie Dust on Facebook. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, we sure would appreciate it if you would share it with your friends. That helps us get our show out and a little bit more known in the Disney and cruising community. So between now and our next show, if you're heading out on your next vacation, all of us here would like to wish you fair winds and safe sails as you head on your next adventure. Once again, thanks for coming back and taking a listen, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.